Okay, guys, this is Jeff Gamble out of Indianapolis, Indiana, and tonight is our open house. We've been doing this every single Tuesday for months and months and months. And we actually have other events that go on. David Mudge is here, so he runs an event as well. David Roeder just jumped on from California, which is fantastic. So this has been going on, and we actually have recordings of this. So in case you need to see it again, you always have the ability to see it again because we have recordings and videos and stuff set up, and I will have a link that is generic that anybody can come to. Just so if you need to watch it again, if you need to send it to somebody, you have the ability to do that. That way, it's available all the time. And then, of course, you can get in touch with whoever brought you here and link up with them, and they will instruct you how to make this work. So the presenter, that's me. A little bit about me. I said I was from Indianapolis. We do own several businesses, including a holistic health company. After the financial crash of 2007, 8, 9, 10, I was actually in the mortgage business at that time. I was in finance, and the finance industry crashed. And I said, man, I've got to get into something that no matter what, people are always going to need, always going to be around, something that won't shut down. So I decided to become a holistic doctor, specifically a traditional naturopath, which basically means holistic doctor. And we got our studio up and running, and we were able to run consistently open all the way through COVID and everything. I didn't plan on that happening, but at the same time, I wanted to be in a position where nothing could shut down my income. On top of that, we actually own a real estate company. I became a realtor years and years and eons ago. I became a real estate broker in 2005. So we've been a real estate broker owner for over 20 years, buying property, selling property, listing property, etc. And then we're also property investors. Currently, right now, we own land. We're talking about building on, and then just basically flipping. And then my leadership network, which was a training company. I got asked by so many people in the direct sales industry and outside the direct industry how we built so many different businesses, how we're running multiple things at the same time. So we built a coaching consulting company that kind of goes over how to recruit, how to team build, how to build events, along with, growth and achievement. Once you get people in, how do you get them moving? All that being said, I've been around and involved in the direct sales industry since I was 17, which has been a long time, over 30 years. And I only mention that because I've looked at hundreds of businesses in the direct sales industry. And what Brandy and I specifically were looking for is somewhere that everybody could win. There's a lot of companies out there that have great products, that have great services. But I wanted something that anybody from any background and really any income level, just based on the product itself, had a shot, had a chance. They were going to get somewhere. And the reality is most of the products and services inside of the direct sales industry do one of two things. They either don't get used or they expire. Obviously, if it's anything in the beauty industry, makeup, cosmetics, skincare, lotions, you know, etc., those all have expiration dates. I've been involved in a company like that where within 1 year, our entire inventory was going to go bad. So, if you don't use it, you lose it. And I was just looking for something that everybody could win. And that's when I kind of came across Quicksilver. And, I had read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And, he mentioned, things like gold, silver, platinum. He mentioned commodities. He mentioned real estate. And, precious metals always was kind of an interest, but I didn't know anything about it. So, like most people, I went online and I looked up where I could buy this stuff from, and there were a million choices. There were a million different kinds. I got confused, and a confused mind does nothing. So I ended up not buying, and I said, "Oh, I'm going to come back to this." And I probably went back to the website half a dozen times, where I never ended up purchasing anything because I just didn't know what to do, what to buy. Finally, eventually, I came across Quicksilver, and they broke it down. And thankfully, after being involved for a little while, I actually went on ChatGPT and I actually looked up, if you're going to get into precious metals, where should you start? I said, what's the good, bad, and ugly of precious metals? And, it said, well, the good is you can get started for very little. under $100. The best things to buy. It shared that, and I'll show you that here in a minute. It shared what the easiest things to sell were once you bought them, because that's kind of an important thing. You know, if you do decide to purchase anything, you want the ability to then turn around and sell it for a profit. Silver had all of these different things that ChatGPT looked up, and Quicksilver specifically, the company, offered a program and a platform that allowed you to do that. So here's what I ask of everybody is anybody watching here, the reason we're here is basically to give out education and share with you what this is about, how it works, and how to get involved. What we ask of you is to basically look over what we're doing. So if you run into the right person, you have the ability to refer them to us. That's it. If you want any more information, we can get that to you. The person who brought you here, you just connect with them. They'll get you the rest of the info. If you decide, hey, I would love to be able to purchase, you're going to get with the person who brought you here, get to their link, and they have the ability to share, that information with you. And you kind of can get in where you fit in. And last but not least, if you are looking for a way to, collect on a regular basis and have the ability to refer other people, we can show you how to do that as well by connecting with the person who brought you here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to evaluate 6 areas. I did not create these 6 areas. These areas were actually created. I can't remember if it's Harvard or Stanford talked about there's 6 areas you should look at if you actually look at any company to be involved in. And those are things like the company, the need, the market, where can you market, the product itself. Is it competitive? Is it used in the market? The compensation, are you getting paid well for what you do? And then the timing, which is very, very important. They say in real estate, it's location, 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 but in business, it's timing, timing, timing. So the company itself is based in Sarasota, Florida. It was founded by Keith and Chrissy. One of the things I like about these guys is they actually started in the field. They were actually representatives of a company to start with, and they had a lot of success in that first company. From there, they ended up joining the precious metals business in another company. They did well there. Eventually, Keith ended up in acquisitions. Chrissy came and ended up at the company as well in corporate with customer service. They were with that company for a while. That company had 2 owners. The owners had disagreement. One of them decided to take off. They decided to leave with him. Keith became the head of acquisitions for that company, and Chrissy built the entire customer service department. After being with that company for a few years, they said, "Hey, look, we think we know a better way to do this." They shared that with the owner. The owner disagreed. So they just decided, "Hey, it's time. We know how to do this. We know where to get the stuff in acquisitions. We know how to run it. And we've got an idea how to build it." So they decided to start their own company. May 1st of 2019, they launched Quicksilver. They've been open and expanding in 29 different countries. And I say it's ground floor because from the numbers I know, there are less than 6,000 people involved worldwide, which means you could put all 6,000 just in Indianapolis, where I'm at alone, and there's 1.4 million people, including the suburbs, in the Indianapolis area. So, I mean, you can literally get to the top of our commission chart and max everything out just in Indianapolis without even looking at the rest of the United States or the world. So that's why we kind of say it's ground floor. It is wide, wide open, Wild West here. The need, I believe there's actually 5 needs. I'm going to mention the 5th one, but the ability to make more money, I think, is on everybody's mind. It's in everybody's conversation. I see people posting about this constantly online. Hey, I wish, have you heard of anything new? Are there any other money-making opportunities out there, right? You also have the ability to have more time. I think people are looking for a way to kind of get their time back. A lot of people are working 2 jobs. And if you're working 2 jobs, and if you ever work 2 jobs, I actually met somebody who was working 3 jobs. I was like, why are you working 3 jobs? They're like, well, the third job is to pay to get to the second job. I was like, you know what? If you're working more than 2 jobs, something isn't working. I don't know what you're doing, but that's not working out real well. Number 3 is the ability to create more security. I think people are looking for a way to build something that they own, something that they control, something that they operate, something that doesn't have a thumb. You don't have to check in. You kind of do when you want to do it. And then the ability to contribute and help other people. Let's face it, if you have money and you have time and you have security, what else is there to do than go help other people do it? I mean, that's kind of the main thing. And the 5th thing I think that people are looking for is something that's fun and entertaining. because life can be stressful, jobs can be stressful, families can be stressful, households can be stressful, right? So people are just looking for, to be fun and entertainment. That's why we go to the movies and we watch TV and we go to plays and all this art, concerts, is we're looking to be entertained rather than just focusing on everything else. And this industry, meaning the direct sales industry, can be that. I mean, it can be a lot of fun and a lot of entertainment, but physically collecting and purchasing the products that we're going to tell you about is a blast. I love it. So the market. These are all the different countries, everything from the United States, Aruba, Australia, Bahamas, Iceland, Ireland, Italy, look, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Trinidad, Tobago, United Kingdom, England, Scotland, and Wales is actually in the United Kingdom, so I don't know why they're listing those separately. But one thing that I thought was really interesting about this market is all of South America is available and all of Africa is also open, and it's not even listed on the list yet. Not to say that they don't collect, it's just not even available or open there for shipping yet. But who knows in the future? So there's a wide open market here. Now let's talk about the products. We do have silver, we do have gold, and we also have copper. At the time I made this slide, copper was not available at all, so I didn't want to put it there and answer 50 questions about why I can't get copper. But the copper is actually on the list and available again. The flagship product, though, is silver, 1 ounce, 99% government issue silver. Now, I bring this up because I brought up earlier that I looked at ChatGPT. ChatGPT said the easiest thing, the best thing to buy was the 1 ounce, 99% government bullion. Now, they said the reason why it's the easiest to acquire is also the easiest to sell. Because you don't have to break it apart. People know what it is. If you take it to a gold, silver shop, pawn shop, etc., they already know what it is. It has the what do I want to say? It's very easy. It's easily recognizable, and it's much harder to fake. Whereas if you bring in a block and a big chunk of melted down silver, a lot of times they don't know if it's real or not. They're gonna have to drill holes in it to figure it out and blah 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 blah. If you ever watch is it Pawn Stars? I watch Pawn Stars. That's a great show. They would bring in stuff like that and they'd have to drill holes in it and figure it out. But if they brought in coins, they knew right what it was. Um, so what has happened with silver? If you look at the history, 1970, silver was about $1.83. This is an average of the year. 75, it went to $4. In the 80s, it went to the 20s, and so on and so forth. And it really didn't start taking off again until 2010. Now, interestingly enough, about 18, no, it's 19 years ago. Um, Let me think. JP Morgan went out and bought 750 million ounces of silver, put it in a vault, and then they co-conspired with a bunch of other banks and said, "Hey, let's create a paper silver market," meaning they were going to sell stock based on this. And what they did is they printed a bunch more paper than they actually physically had silver. So what does that mean? They artificially inflated the amount they had. So, supply and demand, right? If there's abundant supply and then demand usually isn't that great. So they were able to suppress the cost of silver for years and years and years. Meanwhile, they knew it was going up around the world. They just kept it down so they could keep buying it at a discount. This is not my, knowledge. I didn't do the research on this, but you can actually study this online. And then eventually, somebody's got to pay the piper when you do that. And what happened is in 2025, one thing that they were not expecting is the amount of silver needed in the world went up drastically. Why? Well, because of things like lithium batteries and solar and circuit breakers and all the different things that silver's in. It started to skyrocket, and China wanted a bunch of it and started buying, and the spot price started going through the roof because why? They realized, hey, there's more demand for this, there's a shorter supply than they thought, and there's more demand for it. Well, let's flip the script on JP Morgan. Now we went from having abundant supply to having a limited supply. In fact, it was in demand at 150%, 50% over what they could actually physically produce. So what happened to the spot price? Well, all of a sudden, silver shoots up and does 147% in 1 year. Many of us were actually in the company and got to see this happen where it went from mid 30s up to about $122 in the span of like 6 months. It was wild. I mean, every day it was like increase, increase, increase. Currently, right now, I just looked up earlier, it was at 74 and change. So just a greater than it's about $75. The current spot price, that's where it's at. So if you were able to buy 2000, two, three, four, which is when I was buying, silver has more than doubled. If you can double your investment in a short period of time, you're doing really well. But if you look at the history, I mean, it's been doubling for a long time. So, six reasons why to stack silver. First of all, it's industrial, meaning it's used. We'll talk about where it's used here in a second. It's valuable, it's tangible, something you can put in your hand, it's transportable. I can take it wherever. I mean, obviously, I can't take a ton of it, but I can put 10 coins in my hand and take it wherever in the world I want to. It's transferable. If I hand it to David Mudge or I hand it to Marty, now it's in their hand. It's not really hard to move. And it's economical. Anybody can actually buy silver. I mean, even if you can't buy a full ounce, you can buy fractional silver. There's all kinds of different options. Now, industrial uses for silver. This is what's wild. Medical, from bandages and catheters, water purification, electronics, computers, cell phones, and cameras. Every single thing about this, every single screen that you know of, whether it's a cell phone, laptop, iPad, all the screens that are sitting in all the cars now. Because I mean, you can't get in a truck, you can't get in a car, you can't get in a Tesla without having some big operating screen. All of those take silver, um, along with solar panels and lithium batteries and everything else. The best metal, it's the best metal conductor of electricity and it doesn't corrode, which is why it's in all circuits. So if you see a circuit board of any kind in your house or in a machine of any kind, it has silver as the connectivity. So because of that usage, here's an interesting thing that I also read. Because of that usage, this is the reason why Warren Buffett invested over $1 billion in silver, but he said he will never invest in gold. And he said the reason he'll never invest in gold is gold really doesn't have an industrial use. He goes, it's pretty. They melt it, they make it into jewelry. People wear the jewelry for a while, and then when they get, you know, old and don't want it anymore or just, need another option, they trade it in, they melt it down, and they make it into different jewelry. He goes, it really doesn't have a use other than storing money. So gold and silver has always been used as a storage of wealth, which is what we're going to talk about here in a second. So, why buy from Quicksilver? Well, one of the reasons for me was security. Quicksilver does the research. It has actually people involved in the company who are investors and collectors. And I was like, well, who's better than a collector to know the difference between what's real or not? If there was a problem here, the first people to raise a red flag and be like, hey, there's something wrong would be, these people. And I looked online and nobody was saying anything like that. Next is the opportunity itself. Quicksilver pays you to refer. And I've gone to pawn shops, I've gone to silver and gold places, and here's what they told me. If I bring in client after client after client and then I refer them, they're not giving me anything. They might say, hey, we'll give you first dibs. You're the first person to look, but I'm not getting a check, I'm not getting a referral, and I'm not getting a discount. With Quicksilver, you can actually refer people over and not only get points and dollars add up, but you can trade that in for more silver, which is what I've always done. So next, I'm going to go over the compensation. Now, I want to cover a couple things just for compliance purposes. There's no guarantee of income or promotion because we don't know if you'll do anything. You are an independent contractor. It's 1099, so that means you're responsible. Work and results. There's no set hours. There's no set schedule. There's no set quotas. Educational resources and support are available, but not required. I don't know why you wouldn't want to get trained on what to do, but that's up to you. Risk of loss, just like starting any business, you got to do your due diligence, which means if you buy a bunch of this and sell it for less, I mean, that's on you. And then compliance, we're going to comply with all laws, orders, disclosures, and anything new that comes out. So with that being said, let's go over this commission chart. There's actually 7 ways to get paid, but I have 6 here, the 6 main ones. The first one is direct commissions, which just means this is the wholesale to retail difference. When you get involved, you get a website, and on that website, you have a retailed website. The difference between retail and wholesale is just I mean, it's small. It's just a fraction. But this is a volume game. If you're move if you're moving a lot of volume, it adds up. I was talking to somebody about coffee and that you can make a lot of money in coffee. They said, yeah, but there's not a big margin on coffee. It's like, well, true, there's not a huge margin on coffee. Um, but if you sell 1,000 to 3,000 cups of coffee a day, like the average Starbucks location, there's a lot of money in coffee, which is why they have thousands of franchises around the world. Um, so again, it's a volume deal. Now, the customer acquisition bonus is basically $1 for each auto wealth coin. What is auto wealth? It just means anybody who buys coins on a regular basis. So if you set up a monthly auto wealth order, you get $1 for each coin they order right off the bat, up to 10 coins. So that's an extra $10, which is cool per person, up to $10 per person, when they first join and put themselves on that auto wealth order. Next is the challenge bonuses. This is where you can make some decent upfront money. $20 if you do not have a pack, but if you decide to get a pack, this challenge pack, which is basically a display case, nice felt display case, has a bunch of coins in it, has that little jeweler pad where you can sit the coins down so that way they're not banging on the table and you're not mucking them up. It has the white gloves so that way you don't get your oil on them and tarnish them up. It's got a magnifying glass if you're over the age of 30, and can't see, .02 font, which I can't anymore without glasses or magnifying glass. So 40 points as well that get added to the system every time. Now we also have these extra bonuses. This is a depth bonus, meaning as somebody recruits somebody who recruits somebody, if you do not purchase a challenge pack, you get $20, $5, $5, and then $2.50. But if you do, it doubles the bonuses to 40, 10, 10, 5, 5, 5. This does not seem like an enormous amount of money, but when you start adding up a team that's actually doing it, you can get, my sponsor who, I called when I found out he put 1,100 people in this company in 4 months. I was like, hey, how's things going? And he said, well, this part of the bonus alone, he was over $10,000 a month. Which is, not $1 million, but that's also for 4 months work, not too bad. So the wealth cycles, this is one of the things I like the best is this is basically the residual side of it. You've got different points. You got personal points, you got referred points, and then team points. All points add up. So to achieve level 1, you first have to earn your first wealth cycle. So how do you do that? You sign up as an ambassador. We'll talk about how to do that in a second. And you have at least 10 personal points, which means you have one 1 ounce coin. One 1 ounce coin equals 10 points. And you have to maintain that coin on an auto wealth shipment. So wealth cycle. So you plus 10, that puts you active in the system. So you're in and active. And then when your left team, so there's two teams we build, two franchises. When your left team does 100 points and your right team does 100 points, basically those two add up to one cycle, and it's a $10 commission every time you hit that cycle. So here's a couple ways to do it. It could be 10 people, each having one coin. So one coin's worth 10. So 10 people, that's 100 points on one side. Or you could get two people who just get a pack, meaning the challenge pack, so you get 40 points for that. Plus, they order one coin. That's 50 points. So you need two people who get a pack and a coin, and you just hit 100 points. So you could do it with 10 people. You could do it with two people. You could do it with any combination of that. So then we look at the compensation chart, and your ability to move up the chart. So you move up the chart both by personal and by team. The personal, this is personal referred points, meaning you're just buying yourself. So obviously for the first, 6 levels, you only have to be ordering one coin, or, you have to have one coin. Now, when you get to the next level 7, you have to have at least two coins because it says, 20 points personally. And then it's like cumulative over time, you get to add up, and it basically kicks off these cycles. So, if you're a level 3 in the system, how many cycles can you get? You can get up to 6 cycles. If you're level 8, you can get 28 different cycles, which would be $280. It gets really, really fun when you start hitting these teen levels, 13, 14, 15. All of a sudden you're at, $800, $1,200, $100, $1,800. all the way up to level $26,000 coming in. But something else happened. If you look right here at level 14, you have to have at least four coins, 40 points personally, 3,600 accumulative points that you've racked up, and then you can, release that 120 cycles or 1,200. And then it gets really crazy. We have these extra bonuses, these leadership bonuses, 500 to 5,000 when you start maxing out the comp plan. I asked the question, I was like, well, what happens if I hit level 24 and I max out the comp plan? She said, very simple. You then can sponsor yourself and build an entire team underneath yourself. So you basically bonus off of yourself. I was like, oh, okay. I was like, how many times can you do that? She's like, as many times you want. So there really is no limit to this. It's just you'd have multiple positions. Um, I just built this chart to make it really easy, assuming that each person is doing 100 points. So if you were assuming each person was doing 100 points or you had 10 coins, this is how many people you'd need on your team to achieve the levels. Now, if you're only doing one, right? If you're only doing one coin, you would need 10 times this number of people to hit these different levels. So just kind of an easy way to understand how to build a successful Quicksilver business. Timing wise, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. So when people ask me, well, what's the best time to get this thing started? I said, well, the best time would have been May 1st, 2019. But since you missed that, the best time is now. Now, some people will say, oh, but it's already peaked and, silver hit this super high level. Well, people said that years ago about real estate, and people said that years ago about oil, and people said that years ago about gold. Oh my God, gold broke $100. It'll never go past 100. Does anybody know what gold is? Spot price of gold? I want to say it's like 44 or 4,500, 4,600 right now. And people thought that once it hit $500, it would never go higher. What's another one? Bitcoin. Everybody said, oh, that's crap. It's not real. I remember when people were saying that and it finally hit $500. I remember hitting $1,000 and people said, oh, it'll never hit 2 grand. And then it hit five. People said, oh, it'll never hit 10 grand. And then it hit 25,000. And I remember them talking about, well, it'll never pass $50,000. And then it hit, right? And it just kept going up. Don's here. What's up, sir? So I'm just going to mute you out so that way we can clear and we'll open it up here in a minute. So you have this mentality that once something's grown, it can't grow any further. And what I can tell you is don't limit yourself with that thinking because trust me, it can still go up, right? So how do you get started in something like this? Well, I mean, the nice thing is you're talking about a $10 a month investment, to become a wealth ambassador. So I look at this as there's three ways to get involved. Number one, you could just be a customer, right? Doesn't cost you anything. You just go on the person's website, you look up what you want, you order it. That's fun. That's easy. That's simple. Second way is kind of more like a Costco member or a Sam's Club member. Costco and Sam's Club basically have a membership, right? You get their membership, you get their card, and then you can go in and buy whatever you want at a discount. So that's kind of what becoming an ambassador is. $10 a month gives you the website and gives you the wholesale pricing, and then you can go in and buy whatever you want, but you can do one more thing. You can refer people. And when you refer people, those points stack up and you actually get dollars back because of me referring. And I got to add it up. I know it's over 20 coins so far, but I've never taken a dollar in commission out of the system. I just let the dollars stack up until it's two, three, $400. And once it's past 200, I'm like this. Once it's past 200, you no longer have to pay shipping and handling if you're doing like a retail order or a regular order. So I just let it pass 200 and I'm almost there again. And then I can go in and buy two more coins, or I can buy gold, or I can buy copper, or I can get a couple different things. The last time I decided to not only order a couple coins because I had a bunch stacked up, is I didn't get just some silver, which I got here, but I actually got, it's really cool. I don't know if you see that. I got gold. Now, this gold coin is really small. It's just like a fraction of a fraction of a fraction. But I got two little gold coins as well. So I was taught you just buy it in fraction. If you can't afford the whole thing, you just buy pieces of it and let it add up. Eventually, those little pieces are worth a ton. So then what do you do? Well, you're going to choose the third option is, you're going to build as a business. If you decide to build as a business, then not only you can become an auto wealth ambassador, but we're going to suggest you doing the challenge pack so that way you get the bonuses and you can earn the upfront money too. And then you're going to get your auto wealth order of 1, 2, 4, or 10 coins. So you kind of get in where you fit in. It's totally up to you. To be active, you only need 1 coin. So this is a pretty small, limited, fun thing to do where you just get in where you fit in. You refer other people to it. If they decide to become a retail person, great. You make a little bit every time they order, you make points. If they decide to become a, you know, kind of Costco Sam's Club member, every time they order, that stacks up, you get points, they add up, you get commissions. And then last but not least, you could have team builders and people who actually want to recruit and build a team out of this. That's where I got in. That's where Dave Mudge got in. Marty got in. Dave Roeder got in. That's what we saw, as something. And I know Greg was on my presentation a couple weeks ago, and he's like, "Yeah, this totally makes sense." He got started as well. So what do you do from there? Well, you want to set up a game plan ASAP with the person who got you involved, just to kind of make sure that you understand what we're doing and how to set everything up and where your links are. Get plugged into any of the events we have. Get your ticket to a mastermind. A lot of times there's seminars. We do one. A lot of people do one, just so you can get an understanding of what it takes to be able to recruit and build a team. You want to get paid and promoted right away and then repeat and teach that. Again, we do open houses. Dave has an open house coming up this Sunday. Corporate does some different stuff. Dave, do you have corporate's schedule of what they do? David Mudge.
Good evening. Yeah, so there is a corporate call Wednesday night at 8. That is for wealth ambassadors only, and it really dives into a lot of the frequently asked questions that customers have. Sometimes Quicksilver will open that up to ambassador or guests as well, but usually it's only ambassadors. Then they have one on Thursday nights at 8, which is found on the Quicksilver website. They also have one on Saturday mornings at 11. That information is also found on the website. And then, of course, my call on Tuesday or Sunday nights. And then I'm also available any day after 4:30 if you can't meet on that particular day on Sundays or one of the other days. We can arrange something.
Awesome, awesome. So that's kind of a quick overview. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the recording at this point. So get back to the person who brought you here. We said at the very beginning of this call, we're here to educate you. We want to let you know what it is we do, how we do it, so that way if you run into the right person, you have the ability to refer people to us. And then we can kind of just, answer their questions and fit in where they get in, figure it out. If you want any more information beyond that, you want to obviously get back with the person who brought you here. But I'm going to stop this so that way maybe wouldn't let me stop it. That is interesting. Oh, it's got an